Our worldviews are different in many ways, and yet we can still find ways of coexisting and having exchanges.
It is virtually impossible to be happy all the time. One of the way we experience the world is emotion.
There is a person in your life you cannot stand. You cannot be in the same room as them. You cannot hear their name without your jaw tightening. What if I told you that person is not a problem? What if the reason that you hate them so much is that they're showing you a part of yourself you've been running from for your whole life? In the next hour, we are going to introduce you to the part of you you've been hiding. And we are going to show you why the life you actually want is on the other side of meeting it.
Today we're discussing this concept of the shadow and why it's important to embrace it and accept it, and maybe also how. We can discuss how we've managed to attain that objective at this level of our growth. As you know, that we're seekers just like you, learning how to manage life and its various aspects to the best of our ability. And as we grow, you get to witness that along us, and we also hopefully soon get to witness your growth as you interact with this page, with this channel, by commenting, by subscribing, by liking, and all those things. So what is this shadow that I'm referring to? As a human being, if you observe yourself carefully enough, you'll realize that there are sides of you, aspects of your life. They can be thoughts, desires, actions, tendencies that you may have that you tend to not embrace or accept. You tend to shy away from them. If it's thoughts, for example, certain thoughts that may come to you and you're very quick to dismiss them, finding a way to always run away from them. And again, those don't just apply to thoughts, they apply to all aspects of your being, really. And in general, what we refer to as the shadow tends to fall in the category of negative things, such as anger, frustration, lust, or things of that nature that we know that we've been trained to not discuss out loud, to not share with other people because they're not good, because they're bad. And sometimes this is what I learned also in my journey. I didn't have this information at the time that I learned this concept of the shadow, but the shadow can also contain things that we don't perceive as negative necessarily. For whatever reason, based on our perception of who we are as a human being, do not fit that picture, right? You may come from a background where you're not allowed to listen to rock and roll music, which was my case. Rock and roll is demonic for whatever reason. Maybe the case, may not be the case, I don't know. I could not even allow myself to enjoy anything that was remotely pleasing to my ears if it was rock music. So there are many things like that. It doesn't have to be negative, it doesn't have to be positive. Am I missing anything? Is there something that you want to share with the people regarding the shadow to understand that concept even more before we dive deeper?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I need to add anything more because
Yes.
in general you said everything that introductory wise that will go with the shadow. It's a Jungian idea, Carl Jung's idea, to explore the side of us that we disown. So by definition, the shadow is that which we disown for the sake of our self-image. So everything that we disown for the sake of our self-image fits in our shadow. And what we do with that has implication in the way we live our life, the decision we make, and having a consideration for that is positive and fruitful for a fully actualized life.
We both agree that we all have an image of who we are, right? And everything that deviates from that fits in the shadow because we don't want it. It doesn't fit our picture of life. And would you say that this is primarily cultural? So basically, your identity of self, if you haven't been exposed to training, I should say, or information outside of the things that you're used to, your environment, your family, your friends, and your teachers, and all that stuff, that this shadow is primarily forged by others. Would you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that.
Oh.
I don't agree with that because, I had the challenging exploration of the relationship between shadow and emotion, shadow and self, and shadow with others. And I think that the shadow is much wider. The idea of this shadow self that needs to be confronted is much wider than our interaction with self emotional interaction, our interaction with others is a wide thing. Because sometimes even with outside of the interaction with others and and their influence, we still have aspects of our life that we keep in the shadow, away from the light, hidden. You know, we don't need. There are things innate in us that segregate what we view as positive or negative, even outside of the influence of others. So, shadow does not have to be related with the pressure of societal rules or norms, but simply that which we disown. The things about that we disown for the sake of our self-image, for the sake of how we want to be seen by the world. So the things that we disown, for the things that we disown, for the sake of how we want to be seen by the world, and the sake of how we want to see ourselves. All those things fit in the shadow. Obviously, a lot of that is a consequence of pressures from the society in which we're involved, is subject to maybe our ability to experience emotions in some way. But they are the most important part of them, in my view, the one that have more impact, that grasp us and keeps us still, have to do with our innate judgment of what to be positive or not, and also our personal values about how we want to be seen.
I'm reminded of a few things in my upbringing. This is an example of a cultural one for sure. Back home, because electricity is not yet readily available. There are some pockets of places where electricity is as available as it is here in America, but in the vast majority of places, I'm speaking of the Democratic Republic of the Congo in particular, Kinshasa, even in more particular, where I grew up. It was unusual for men, to be doing laundry and the way that we did them. So you would go with a bucket outside and you would wash your clothes and hang them on a clothesline. I believe that's what they're
Yeah.
called. And the reason why I'm relating to the shadow is the fact that one of my uncles did it naturally, and he was married too, which made things a bit odd that people would come visit him, and as a man, you're so manly. Why do you do a job that is not befitting you?
Yes.
And that part, because of that, I realized that even now as a kid, I was a kid, I'm looking back at at this now, but even as a kid, my perception of him was shaped differently. That he was not manly enough. That something about him was not fully respectable, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
Because it's surprising to see a man doing that work. All these are cultural things, of course, and far be it for me to be sexist and all that stuff. This is not the point of this, but the point I'm making is a shadow. Though you acknowledge it, though you may or may not accept it or acknowledge it, it does shape the way that you view the world, the way that you perceive, the way that you interact with yourself and with others. That is why it is worthwhile to know what it is and to know what sides of you that you're dealing with every day may fit in that shadow that you're trying to push away or disown or not accept. But yeah, I remember that just right now, strangely enough.
Yeah, and that example is really telling because it is a fact that what a man is something that is taught. Young boys cannot become men by growing up. You're a different type of man depending on society in which you are, the norms there, and the responsibility that are there. So to be a man, you are taught to be a man, right? And you are taught to be a man by the people around you. What it means to be a man is different in one society to another, depending on the roles or the things that are shameful, the things that are acceptable. There's a society where you cannot consider yourself a man if you're not war ready. There's a society you cannot consider yourself a man if you cannot walk the land. A society you cannot consider yourself a man if you cannot hunt. So people that can do that are looked at differently. So now, in those different societies, yes, society does affect now. I'm gonna say society poisons the mind. Poison is a negative connotation. Sow seeds, let's say. Sow seeds in the minds of all its young to influence their future behaviors implicitly on purpose and subliminally, not on purpose. And now, you as a young Chikuru walking the street of Congo, if you are to look for an example of a good man to emulate, that uncle wouldn't be it. But you as a grown man now, who knows, maybe his wife was sick. You know, maybe he's doing that because his wife at this season has a job. She has to go do the job to fit his family. Now, as a responsible simple man, you can look at that as an example of a man to follow. That is sacrificial. You know, it's because you've grown, and they are part of our shadows that change when information change. Things move from shadow to light because they are no longer affect our self-image in a way that we don't want. So we allow it to shine because we are changing, and that's part of it. But indeed, the reason we're talking about this is because there is a lot of such things in our mind that has been sown by our own interpretation of the world. Because I doubt somebody came to you and told you, look at your uncle not being a man. I mean, maybe somebody did.
It's likely small events
yes,
that add up to a big picture over time.
Exactly. Judgmental looks.
You see that the man is never involved in big family gatherings and decision making.
The derogatory comments.
Yeah.
So you associate those things together and you're like, no, I do not want to be the kind of man who washes the clothes. Now you're telling me today washing clothes will be a problem. That's crazy, and that's a crazy classification. So for that to make it, to make such a trivial thing, to give such a trivial thing such an important role, a designation of manhood, is dangerous because it steals from you, it takes away from you, you know. And that goes even further, but I think we shall talk about it later on, so I shall wait. It goes even further into really the importance of understanding what the shadow is fully, because if you don't, then you miss out on key areas to approach. Very important to look at that. What is the shadow really in my life, in my personal, what should I consider where the shadow hides? I need to know where it is, because without it, I will lack in a lot of things. I will make decisions that are not in my best interest, really, sometimes, because of a mismatch, a lack of understanding. So this is a subject that is worth exploring and understanding.
I agree. And explore it, we shall.
Indeed.
And the way that I suggest that we do this is we're going to attack this idea of the shadow, really get as deep as we can within an hour and 15 minutes, whatever it is that we do.
Which is not much.
I want to explore it within the lens of a statement that, when was given to me, was earth-shattering in a way, because it challenged my preconceived notions or my accepted notions up to that point of my life. And the statement is, the purpose of life is not to be happy, but to be authentic. So that right there, it was challenging. I've gotten to wrestle with it over the years a little bit more and understand what it means and what it means for me particularly in some aspects of this reality or perceived reality. So the purpose of life is not to be happy, but it is to be authentic. Let's tackle that first part first. The purpose of life is not to be happy. Do we even agree with that? Does that make sense to you? Does that make sense to me? Let's go with that one. The purpose of life is not to be happy.
I agree. I agree. And I happen to know now that at least on that part of this, we're in agreement.
Yes.
The purpose of, well, we're in agreement with both parts, but differently. We shall talk about it as we come in. The purpose of life is not to be happy. That would be crazy, from my point of view. You know, with my understanding. First off, we have to define it properly. We need to be in agreement to what happiness means. You know, but if you understand it, happiness is a solical state in a period of time. It is virtually impossible to be happy all the time, because, happiness is not even an emotion. Happiness is associated with a combination of emotions, but it's not an emotion. You know, you cannot live a fully actualized life, a fully fruitful life, if all you have is happiness. If I was a parent, and because I'm, let's say, ultra powerful, rich, I was able to create a life for my child where all they have is happiness, they will be a ill-equipped human.
And even being able to do that, I don't even know if it's possible. But
I know this is a fantastic world.
But yeah, so you're saying the parent has all the material resources to be able to give the child everything that they ever want.
Mature resources and even power. You can make everybody do anything. You can, if your child is what another child toy, you are the lord of the land. You can make that person give the toy. Let's
Yes.
say everything, even if you had all that, and you could somehow create a child who is happy all the time, you'll create an extremely miserable human being who does not know anything about the world, and has no confidence whatsoever. They've never fallen from a bike because
There was a guard next to
there
them.
was a guard
who wanted
running. You know, so they do not know that they can stand up and do it again. They will be an afraid person because they've never tackled anything. You know, so I don't even think that pursuing a life of constant happiness or happy life is something to desire. Because what makes us, what gives human character, is challenges and struggle.
Yes.
And challenges and struggle are not happy. They are painful at times. They hurt at times. They break you at times. But they make you who you are. So pursuing a life where you are happy all the time is seeking to be a human of no character. And I doubt that will make you happy. Because we tend to evaluate ourselves as human beings. And the person who pursues happiness, which, by the way, I believe is a choice to make, because happiness is about really values. You set the rules for what makes you happy, you know, in general, at the end of the day. If your rules for happiness are very high, very difficult, now if for me to be happy, I have to be a billionaire who is 2 meters long and have 16 wives and Lamborghinis everywhere and able to live to the moon, then I'll never be happy. If my bar to be happy is to wake up in the morning with air in my lungs, then every single day I'm alive, I'll be happy. So at the end of the day, happiness is a choice. We make that choice, you know. And pursuing something that comes from a choice that you can make is pursuing something you already have. And it's pointless. So making the purpose of your life pursuing something you already have will actually create misery. You'll be miserable.
Happiness. I'm trying to speak about this from, to the best of my ability, trying to adopt the perspective of the average person, so to speak. You know, that, because I also had that mindset for the longest time, and I'm confident in saying the average person also has it, because I had it and people around me had it as well. You know, this notion that happiness is a result of a particular set of circumstances aligning a certain way, and then you're happy. That is the mindset that I had, that your grades are good, you go home, your favorite meal is on, electricity is on, because again, growing up we didn't have it, you know, readily available, but you're happy because circumstances are aligned a certain way, and then happiness is a consequence. Therefore, the point of my life is to work my hardest to make sure that I develop this skill of shifting circumstances well enough so that I can always be in the state of happiness, of joy, of, you know, everything is okay. I have all that I want. I can go anywhere that I want. I can do whatever that I want. And I've grown up now from that point of view, realizing that at this very moment, if all the circumstances that I wanted were perfectly aligned, I could achieve the state of happiness. But even that state of circumstances, I have the amount of money that I want right now, the car that I want right now, the house that I want right now, and all these things, there is no guarantee. In fact, I can confidently say that satisfaction will not last, because my needs in a year will change. I will get used to the car, I'll get used to the house, I'll get used to all these circumstances that I've worked so hard to line up, and they will change. And unfortunately, they change without my control. Not even at the time that I want, without warning, without notice. All of a sudden, something happens, and none of those things matter anymore. Now I have to work hard again to align circumstances again differently. So it's a pointless pursuit, and not only is it pointless, but it's also impossible in my view.
Yes.
Because you cannot control life, you cannot control the way that circumstances happen. We talked recently about the 6 human needs, and we also talked about the analogy of the chessboard, the dark squares and light squares. And we made the point that as it pertains to fulfillment in life, the 2 needs that really contribute the most to feeling fulfilled in life is growth and contribution. As Christian said earlier, there is no growth without pain. There is no growth without challenge. And if you do not grow, you will not have that sense of fulfillment that you're seeking. You know, I would even go to argue that this one, I don't think I've said it to Christian like this, but to me, a better thing to pursue is peace rather than happiness. You know, that state of accepting life as it comes, accepting life with all the shifting aspects of it, that peace is far more worthwhile as a pursuit than happiness or any particular emotion, because emotions are fleeting. The soul changes. The soul is not constant. It's ephemeral. Things just change. It's transitory. So that is my point, that peace is far more worthwhile to pursue than happiness. But also, as you said earlier, I also agree with this, that if you think the purpose of life is to pursue happiness, it implies that you do not have happiness. And it is something to be pursued, something to be chased. And rather, my eyes were open to the fact that everything that I seek, I already have. But I have it in a way that is not obviously seen upon first look. You know, if I seek love, for example, let's say, hypothetically, I'm a single person, that I'm seeking love, I want companionship, I want all that. To me, love has a clear picture. You know, a partner who loves the things that I love, who challenges me the way that I want to be challenged, who lets me be me, who, you know, all these things. That is my idea of love. This is how I want this to be. And I overlook the fact that I go home every day, in and out of my house, and I have dogs who love me unconditionally. Maybe the closest to unconditional love that we can see with our eyes right now. It's really your pets, your animals who love you. No matter what you do, you're mad at them. A few moments later, they come back to you, they forget. Why not be grateful and accept the fact that, you know what, I already have love in front of me. It doesn't look the way that I want. It doesn't maybe feel all the needs that I have right now as love goes, but I have love.
One of the most critical things that I had to understand regarding happiness was that it wasn't an emotion. Happiness is not an emotion. I mean, we use it as an emotion, but is it really? No, I don't think it's an emotion. You know, you can be happy while experiencing all range of emotions in your life. You know, if you decide to. You know, it's a matter of choice from a point of view, as you just said. And you said that something more worth pursuing than happiness is peace. I'm not sure about that either. You know, I think it depends on what your rules for peace are. What does it mean to you to be peaceful? And that changes from a person to another. You know, and I'm thinking about this in the context of the purpose for life. You know, or pursuing the purpose for life is. So, I truly don't think that pursuing peace is a good idea. It can be as unattainable as happiness, in my view of things. Despite our willingness to be accepting, you know, because sometimes the loss of peace is necessary to move us in a direction or another. I personally depend on it. Sometimes I need to lose peace about some things. It's so important because it guides me, you know? So I can be pursuing peace. I embrace and experience peace when it's there, but I don't want to be something that I pursue or try to achieve. You know what I mean?
Not exactly.
Go on.
Yes. But you're right. I agree with you in the sense that we may have a different definition for what peace is.
Yeah.
And to me, peace is one of those fundamental things. It's primary in my worldview. That what I define as peace is that state of existence where you are content and accepting of life the way that it comes. You lose a loved one, you grieve. But within you, you don't have that trigger of emotion that this is unfair, that why is this happening to me? This is too early. This is. Those emotions may come again. You know, don't fight anything. Anything that's already in front of you, deal with it. As we talk about the shadow, but you accept that life is changing. Life is out of my control. It's a gift that I'm here in the first place, and whatever life has to offer, I will interact with appropriately. I will accept whatever emotions come with it, and if I have to grieve, in the example of losing a loved one. If I have to grieve, I will grieve because I'm human. I'm a human being, but I will not stay in that state for longer than necessary. Just like I will not stay in a state of elation or joy longer than necessary. Life comes, I deal with it. This constant exchange. I'm accepting the gift of life, and I'm giving the gift of life to others by contributing to them, by growing myself enough to contribute to their lives. And in that state of life comes and goes, that is what I call peace. I don't have any negative response to whatever happens in life. And I'm saying pursue peace intentionally because that notion, it's a very, in my worldview, it's a very broad notion. It encompasses all these things that we're talking about. It encompasses the fact that you need to grow, and your perspective of life is changing as you're growing along, and it's helping you attain that state of peace even more. The more you learn, the more you grow, the more you contribute within yourself. You're not really attached to, nothing in your inner world is really permanently changed by anything on the outside. So that is a state of peace that I attain. I cannot envision anything deeper than that, honestly. You know, from God, I find myself, even in my prayers, I find myself praying for peace more than anything else. For me, for my loved ones, for people that I pray for, because life will happen. Life will happen, pursuits in life will happen, goals and objectives and missions and all these things. But all the while, if I can come and show up from a place of peace, my best self is found in there. But that is a personal worldview again. That is just for me.
What you just described for me, that's what I call fulfillment, to be fulfilled.
Oh, I see.
To accept the life as is, and I look at peace as a tool that helps me in judgment.
Oh, okay.
A tool that lets me know if situations are aligned with my values, if a situation require. I think peace for me plays the role that anger plays sometimes. Being angry, things that make me angry.
Okay.
I need to address those things. It doesn't mean that I need to address. There's a category of things that makes me angry about the world that I need to address or confront in a certain way. And there's a category of things that take my peace about the world. And it means I need to address them in a certain way. Interaction. So I want those things. I want things to continue taking my peace away, so I can look at them differently. So I think it's a matter of definitions here, but I do agree with you that looking for fulfillment in my language is the thing to look for, to be fulfilled in life.
Yeah. Words like peace and love and all those things, there are layers to them. I agree with that too. I mean, I love ice cream. I love cheeseburgers, but there's a little bit of semantics there as well. So I agree with that. Okay, so as we've made a point again, we are exploring this notion of life is the purpose of life is not to be happy, but it is to be authentic. Now let's tackle the second part, authenticity. What does that even mean, and why is that even important? Do we even agree that the purpose of life is to be authentic? But I think it makes sense to even talk about what it means first.
Yes.
And the best way that I found in this lesson when we receive it to understand authenticity, and again, to me, emotions are something that are so deep. I firmly believe that we experience life through emotions. And I know, because we've actually had this conversation before, our recording didn't work out, so I kind of know a little bit about Christian's point of view on certain things.
Yeah.
But to me, emotions are also primary. They're the building blocks of life, in a way, if I can put it that way. But this goes much deeper, and this is not the place to have this conversation. But if you were to, and I'm borrowing again this image, this picture from Peter Sage, if you were to put all of the possible emotions in the human range, right, from 0 to 100 on a scale, basically, of grading them, 100 being the good emotions, the positive ones that we like. So the maximum one being 100, that is complete euphoria. You're so happy, you're one with the world, nothing is wrong, everything is perfect, in that state of euphoria. And then all the way down to 0, which would be suicidal. I don't want any part of this. This makes no sense. I hate every aspect of this thing that we call life. So you have that range, right? And from 0 to 100, and at the 50 mark line, at the halfway mark line, you have indifference, really. things are not good, they're not bad, they're just what they are. Life is what it is. And he made me realize that this notion of pursuing happiness as a purpose for life is equivalent to people wanting to spend their life living from 50 to 100. Like you just want to experience all the positive things for the most part and disregard, 0 to 50. And that is the purpose of life, basically, from most people. That if I'm feeling an emotion from 0 to 50, my job is to fight it. My job is to change it and convert it to an emotion that is on the higher range of things. And yet, as human beings, we know that we're capable of experiencing joy and pain, jealousy, envy, and also gratitude. So it is undeniable that we can experience many emotions.
Yeah.
Yes, some people are sick, you have psychopaths and sociopaths and all these people who cannot experience certain things, but we are capable of experiencing a wide range of emotion. It makes no sense to disregard half of the range of emotions that we can feel. And so this is one aspect of viewing authenticity. If you go around life, if you go through life, attempting to reject and disown and not embrace anything from 0 to 50, and only call yourself a properly living human being who is properly alive when you are experiencing emotions from 50 to 100,
Yes.
then you're cheating yourself. You're not being true to yourself. You're not being a true human being, the true you. That is one way of viewing authenticity.
Yeah.
I know Christian has another way of viewing it too, maybe deeper in his sense. What say you?
Yes. The sentence, we experience the world through emotion, is correct, but not fully correct. I believe that, from my point of view, from my understanding, a good way to view this is one of the way we experience the world is emotion. And is because it is factual that we experience a lot of the world as out of emotion. And the first time we had this conversation, because we had this before things went crazy, by the way, that happens sometimes. I was not armed with the proper language to explain myself clearly. So I had time to think and to relaunch my thoughts so I can explain myself clearly with more armed arguments, logical, thought-through arguments. So the test of life is found in emotion, but the experience of life is not found in emotion in a way. Because there are things that are very much part of experiencing life that have nothing to do with our emotional spectrum. Like, for example, I can look at the sky and notice that it is blue. That is me experiencing life, even though it does not yet go through the filter of my emotions. Though the blue sky makes me feel a certain way, right? But before it makes me feel a certain way, before that decision has happened, before I've gone through that filter, that creates judgment of a life, which is our emotions, I can appreciate it. And there is other areas of life that involve experiencing life as well, that even out of that is just perception. It is even thinking. I can experience life through mathematics and understand that 7 is a prime number. That pursuit, there are people who spend their life pursuing those things. That is not emotional, but that is a rich experience of life. So even pure observation of a natural phenomenon is a path to experience life. And why is this important to bring up in this context, from my point of view? Is because we're discussing the shadow, is because looking at the shadow, and here is the pursuit of the purpose of our lives. Look at the spectrum of emotion as the basis through which we consider the shadow leaves people vulnerable into thinking that they will be authentic if only they learned how to experience the full spectrum of life. But here is what I come to, it is a propose. It is possible to be a complete empath, feeling all spectrum of emotion through life while being very unauthentic. It's because of those areas of life experience that are not related to emotion. Like, for example, thinking. There is something called disowning beliefs. So they are beliefs that you disown. Beliefs are not emotions. They are not felt to love. For example, you can consider yourself a conservative person, but in you, you have some progressive thought that you don't allow yourself to explore. And you've put that side of you in the shadow. And or the opposite. You can be a very progressive human being, but there's some thoughts that are conservative that you subdue about yourself. That is one form of shadow. Not allowing yourself to think fully, because there are things that you wanna explore. That is one part. The second part is called the golden shadow. Observing the people that feel the need to hide strengths. So your intelligence, your beauty, your talent, the kind of people that cannot accept a compliment. It's because you don't want that part of you to shine through. It's called the golden shadow. You know, it has nothing to do with emotions, but you're not embracing part of you. You know, for a reason or another. Maybe you grew up in a place in a culture where showing off is frowned upon, and it's pushed you to want to hide the part of you that shine bright, because it could be known as showing off. You know, so that pushes you into the category of people who struggle with the golden shadow. There is the shadow perspective. There's a long list of shadows that are disowned because that are disowned and harm us, our experience of life, that have nothing to do with emotion. So it's worth a while to spread what we think of as the experience of life. Because outside of the think part, of the cognitive part, it's really hard to have a personal experiences without the filter of emotions. You have to decide what is good or bad. As a matter of fact, there is something in us, an arrow that is always oscillating in the background, making decisions about what makes us feel positively or negatively, even in the most abstract areas. But it would be irresponsible for me to say that if you, as a human being, pursue the ability to experience emotion fully in its the full spectrum of emotion, it will be sufficient to travel toward authenticity. You could feel yourself black and blue, cry, joy, laughter, but at the same time not be authentic, because there are areas of your mind you're not willing to explore. That is your freedom to think, the idea you are hiding, and because the golden shadow thing, you know. So there's many things. So when you're exploring the shadow, I would look at it mostly as it is defined, that which is disowned for the sake of self-image. There are a lot of things we disown for the sake of self-image that have little to none to do with emotions that need to be considered in our pursuit of being authentic. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying, and this is reminding me of the fact that, as Christian mentioned earlier, this notion of the shadow is primarily credited to Carl Jung, the Swiss psychotherapist. I believe that is the appropriate title. But even he, Carl Jung, despite his intellect and hard work and this very satisfactory framework, many of his peers did not agree with this. Just to show you the fact that our worldviews are different in many ways, and yet we can still find ways of coexisting and having exchanges. Because Christian and I are in disagreement about emotions. To me, they go even deeper. They go quite deep, in fact, for me. If somebody spends their life contemplating mathematical concepts such as prime numbers, that is where they find fulfillment, I would argue that at the core, if you go deep enough, at the foundational core of this person, there is an emotion that they're pursuing. There's an emotion that is fulfilled by that very act. And I suspect we'll disagree on that as I said that we do already.
Yeah.
To me, if you peel the onion enough, you will get to a point where it's an emotional state that people are seeking in doing anything and everything that they're doing. Mm-hmm. And if you even peel up to the last layer of the onion, that emotion I know this is, complex, but
Yeah.
it's love. In the end, if you
Okay.
dig deep enough. So,
Yeah. Very interesting. I guess I'm questioning the need to peeling the onion. Like one of the most beautiful for me, from my point of view, one of the most beautiful ways to experience life is by discovering the encounter of first ideas. The encounter on new things. Uh, I don't need to. I don't need to be infatuated with prime numbers for it to become a life experience. I just need to encounter them. The first time I was sitting in the class and the teacher told me 7 is a prime number and defined what prime number was for me, I was experiencing life. I was experiencing the world because I got to discover something new. That is the way to experience the world, but it has nothing to do with emotions.
if you even go back to the definition of emotions, the best one that I ever found, I am one of those people who I like to go as deep as the rabbit hole goes. And one of the reasons why we have the relationship that we have, Christian and I, is he also happens to be somebody who enjoys information for its own sake. The author of the book, The Placebo Effect, he gave me the most satisfactory definition on emotions that I've had, that I have up to this point. Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Emotions are energy in motion. Sounds like a fun twist on words and a mnemonic technique to remember emotions, but that's really what they are. When we perceive an emotion, when we sense something in our soul that we call emotion, it's because there's been energetic movement within us. And all of life is that. I even disagree that it's possible for us to name all possible emotions that humans feel. So the shift of the state of your soul, a shift from a certain potential, from a certain state to another state, that potential difference is an emotion. And everything that we do is a shift in that state of our souls. That makes sense. If I'm looking at the blue sky, I'll go from a state to another. There is energy in motion. So in that sense, this is starting to sound more like a semantics difference again, once more, as it was the case for peace.
I don't think so.
But to me, things aren't constant in life. Things change in life. Life is an exercise of variance. Things are changing, shifting, taking on different forms. And within those, one of the ways of describing life is in those emotions. That shift constantly is an emotion. Sometimes it's so drastic that you feel it. You feel rage, because the shift from one state to the next is so great that it releases much more energy. So I didn't even know that we'd get to this part in this conversation, but it seems clear to me and it satisfies me to now. The person that I am now is satisfied with that understanding that life is really experienced through emotion. When we pursue something, we are pursuing a state that can also be conveyed through an emotion. But that's how I don't know if that helps anything, if that even moves the needle for this conversation, but I don't know if you have something to add to that.
Not really. I think I made my case. I agree that emotions are part of experiencing life, but I think that life is much more than emotions. And I think that's okay.
Okay. All right. So I wonder, have we made the point pretty clearly that the shadow, your shadow is to be embraced. You are a human being, and honestly, this notion of a shadow has given a new appreciation for tolerance for me. Tolerance for yourself, tolerance for others. Up until recently, I used to have moments, memories that I would look back upon with and cringe a little bit. I can't believe I did that.
Most people have that.
I've come to view that as something that I was shoving into my shadow that I did not want to revisit because it really caused pain to me. I was like, I cannot believe that I said this in public, trying to be cool or trying to impress. Why would I do that? That is so cringy. I shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden I look back, I'm like, that is who I am. Mistakes, and even, is it even a mistake? Even mistakes are a perception issue. Everything that I've done, all the mistakes that I've made, all the good things that I've done and everything in between have contributed to who I am now.
Indeed.
And I can't do anything about them. I've learned from some, I haven't learned from some. I'm bound to make the same mistakes again. But all in all those things just help me to further embrace who I am. That there's nothing wrong with me, right? In that sense, that I'm worthy, I am capable, I'm a human being like everybody else, and I don't have anything to be ashamed of. I didn't choose to be able to think. I didn't choose to be able to desire. They come and they go. And even the negative emotions, quote unquote, jealousy, which is an emotion that one right there, my soul does not like that one in particular. But when I think about it long enough, I'm like, well, it's there. Let me deal with it.
Why is it there?
It's there. It does not have to translate into action, right? I don't have to act on my anger. I don't have to act on my rage or my jealousy in any way. But I owe it to myself to experience it.
Yes. And honestly, all those emotions can actually lead to much very positive actions. Anger can lead to very useful actions, so does jealousy. Jealousy can be inspiring, can lead you to change your state of being. So all these emotions, sometimes the reason why we are stuck in life is because we've not allowed ourselves to fully feel these things that we keep in the shadow. If you allow yourself to truly wallow and to truly experience an event that makes you jealous, maybe out of it you get the inspiration to do the things that change where you are. Maybe the reason why you've not changed and you are stuck is because you've not truly explored those things that make you jealous. And this jealousy can put a fire in you to endure the things you need to endure to obtain what you desire. It's a gift. All those things are a gift. Anger can be a gift because anger can activate you. The only emotion that I know of that I truly believe is not very helpful is guilt. I'm yet to figure it out much good other than the recognition of that the wrong being done. I don't see much good out of guilt. But most emotions, I find them insightful. Especially if I ask myself the question, why am I feeling this emotion? It gives me an insight of my judgment of situations. Our values, of the different ways of values. What weighs more for me? Am I feeling like this because of the importance that loyalty has to me? Am I feeling like this because the importance that respect has for me? So emotions, all those emotions, those little bad, ugly emotions that we try to hide and stifle, carry information that are to be used readily. Every time you have it, instead of trying to get over it as quick as possible, try to shove it in some place where it should disappear in shame. Let's be curious about them. Let's explore them deeper. Let's look at all those things. Jealousy. Why am I jealous? What does it tell for me? What about this situation makes me jealous? And what does it say about my values, about myself? What can I do about this? Is it calling me into something? Why am I angry about this? Why am I disappointed, sad? Looking at all these things with curiosity, this part of us in the shadow, why do I secretly think this way? Just because I want to stray from emotion. Why do I secretly think this way? And I don't want other people to know that I think this way. Why is that? Why is the fact that for example, politically, though I'm an open person and I want everybody to get a chance to experience the metropolis and the civilization that is America, I secretly feel that illegal immigration is problematic, and you hide that thought. What about you explore that? You think about yourself, about your values, about what's important. It actually makes you more, and a lot of that is things that we do, and it also gets in the way of middle grounds, especially in exchange of thoughts. Especially, for example, in the society in which we live today, there is ideology that clashes severely. And it is my assessment that one of the reasons ideology clash brutally to the point where family members who subscribe to different ideology erode their relationship is because people don't tend to explore the shadow part of their thinking. They hide it. And the truth is, in the shadow part of our thinking, depending on which predominant ideology we subscribe to, in that shadow part of our thinking lies the commonality we have to the other side. So if we would just own that shadow, own those parts, then we'll find a bridge between ideology and figure out ways to work together better. America is hurt by people refusing to explore the shadow part of their thinking.
Yes, but even guilt in itself of, having had to think about it a little bit more, and there's usefulness in that too, just like there's usefulness in all emotions, like you said.
Yeah.
And to me, the key here is let emotions run their course. Mm-hmm. They're appropriate in certain circumstances. Even guilt could lead you to go seek forgiveness, to go reach out to the person who may need that closure. So there is usefulness in anything. And also, in Carl Jung's work about the shadow, something that I found really interesting is he reveals that you as a person, when you find yourself having a very strong emotional response to somebody's way of life, somebody's thoughts, somebody's desires. I can't believe that you would desire this. I can't believe that you would want to consume drugs, for example. In a way, actually not in a way, in Carl Jung's paradigm, this reveals more about you than the other person. It reveals that you are projecting in a way, that you are suppressing. It's your shadow crying out loud. And it's a way for you to perceive that, oh wow, this thing is in my shadow actually. Not that you want to partake in the same things, but you're vilifying somebody else to alleviate yourself, your own pain, your own paradigms, your own desires, your own thoughts, basically. I found that to be really, really interesting. Why is it any business of yours? Why should you have such a strong emotional feeling that somebody voted for a certain person?
Yes.
Why,
Yeah.
why are you angry? Why does that change your perception of that person? You can't hire them. I can't be friends with you. I can't do.
Because secretly there are things about that ideology that you agree with,
Yes.
but that affect your self-image
Yes.
in a way you don't want, so you disown them. You disown those things because they affect your self-image. How can I say that I'm for freedom of love and I love the world and everybody else, yet secretly I think that, I don't know, homosexual relationships are not good. Because I think they erode our society, for example, in a way. Or I believe that transsexual, I'm confused by the transsexual people, so I don't want to know I'm talking about them. But, I have something against transsexuals, in a way, secretly. But I cannot really voice that fully. I will accept them. I will be open, I don't understand your way of life, but I accept it, and I fit in this camp of people, And somebody who actually goes and share their grievances about this particularly emotional, triggering part of our society, is a bigot. It needs to be hanged. It needs to be destroyed, for example. And the truth is, somewhere in the shadows lurks the understanding that there is something unnatural about this. And you just cannot stomach it as a person. So, let me be a virtuous person, because that part of me that I can't stomach affects my image as a virtuous person. So I'm going to be aggressive in defending this, so that that part of me is never exposed and I remain virtuous. It is zoning part of us for the sake of the self-image. Tragic, really. And not easy. Not easy. There are obvious areas of our life where we are comfortable with that, depending on which level of comfort you are, of a person you are. There are many areas of our life where, I'm comfortable stating my position about sexuality. I'm comfortable stating my position about many subjects, But there is always those few things that we have a battle in the shadow.
Yep.
Because it makes us look bad to ourselves, and we are afraid that others will ever look at it and judge us for it, and they will be right to judge us for it because it is wrong.
Yeah. an ongoing work, an ongoing endeavor in life to
Yes.
come face to face with your shadow and accepting it. I don't even know if somebody can give themselves a grade as far as how far they've come in this battle, but it'll to me, basically, as we conclude this conversation,
Yes.
it's having the awareness of what the shadow is and how it shows up in your life. It helps you, every time that you encounter parts of it, it helps you sit down and do an introspection and think through your inner world and analyzing your responses to things, your emotional changes within you as exposed to certain circumstances. And that is very, very, very useful, because all of a sudden you start to think more clearly. You start to assess situations with much more clarity, because you don't have these virtual shackles around you that I cannot allow my mind to go here. I cannot allow my desires to go in this direction, or I cannot experience certain emotions. So discovering your shadows and embracing it is one of the most worthwhile things that you can do. Daring to challenge why I feel a certain way about certain things. Why do these trigger such a strong emotional response within me? It is always worth looking into. But I believe I've exhausted what I had to say on this topic for today in this context. I don't know if you have something a last thing to add before we formally conclude the conversation.
Try to understand the parts of you that you are hiding for the sake of self-image, and maybe come to the conclusion that some of it are not worth it and they are affecting your life negatively. So you need to embrace them. And once you've embraced them, then you even tend to look at the world with a less judgmental eye, with a more accepting eye. At least that is my observation, or mostly more, I guess. Other than that, that was the shadow, guys. For those who never heard about this term or this idea, it was probably something to think about and something to learn from. But for those who know much more about that, thank you. Leave us more information in the comments. Let us know what you agree with, what you don't agree with, who you agree with, who you don't agree with, and why. We need that feedback, because we are all pursuing growth here, and we're excited. But before we say goodbye, we want to appeal to your good angels to give us a like and a subscribe, because we are doing our best to offer you value. Coming, listening to us will help you exercise in thinking, and it will help you grow in a way or another, and your life experience will be better for it. At least that is our hope, that is our intent. So for you to experience this beautiful change, this growth, we need to grow as well, and to give you a much better product, we need means, and those means are related to growth. So allow us to grow by liking, subscribing, and leaving your comments. This was B.E.E.F, brothers enjoying endless favor, and we bid you goodbye. Adios.